joining us. Welcome. Good morning, wherever you are this morning.
Sunny
in Chepstow, I'm pleased to say, which is great. Also pleased to say that those of you that maybe join more of these Zooms might notice that finally my hair has been done, which is wonderful. So based in Wales, we are now open for haircutting. My son might not be back in school, but at least I've had my hair cut. So it's a step in the right direction. Welcome to you all. I'll start with a bit of housekeeping, as I generally do. So during Julie's presentation, if you could mute your microphones, all you need to do is tap on the screen and press the button. So therefore you get a line come through your microphone. It just makes it easy for Julie when she's doing a presentation. And then secondly, don't forget, please, to take advantage of the chat facility that we have. So again, tap the screen and you can click the chat button and type whatever you like in to ask Julie. If there's any questions that you have, things that maybe she said that stimulate a question, or actually things she hasn't covered, then please ask away, because that's the whole point of us doing these Zooms, is just to see what people want answered. And Julie's here and delighted to answer anything. So Julie is from Inghams. Inghams are a company that have been going a good long number of years. She'll probably tell us how many. I've certainly been selling it for as long as I can remember, which is quite a long while these days. And I think it's a product, and one of the reasons why we've done this Lakes and Mountains one is because one of the things that's happened as a result of lockdown, COVID, whatever you want to call it, is a lot of us have been out and about, walking, taking in the air, because we've been cramped in the four walls for such a long time that actually it's a great release to go out and do a bit of walking in the woods and the hills. And so I think what we will see is probably a bit of a resurgence, maybe Julie will talk about this, of people wanting to book lakes and mountains and experience that fresh air in other parts of the wonderful world that we live in. So without further ado, I will pass you across to Julie, who will hopefully inspire you for half an hour or so about the joys of lakes and mountains holidays. Julie, over to you.
Thanks, Miles. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's lovely to see so many of you. My name's Julie, as Miles has introduced me, and I work for Inghams, and we cover sort of ski and summer. So I'm going to talk to you about ski. No, I'm not. I'm going to talk to you about summer. I was trying to, that frightened you all, didn't it, for a split second? Frightened me for a minute. I'm just going to share my screen so that hopefully you'll be able to see the presentation that I'm going to take you through. And
that was a brilliant start, Julie. I reckon everybody's thinking, "Oh my God!"
What I was doing was
just we've had to any presentation.
I was just making sure people were listening. And when I saw Jan, because she's the only camera I can see, and her face like went a bit of shock, I thought, "Oh, that was the wrong one." Right, this should share in a second, but I am going to talk about summer and talk about where we go, what we do, and the types of things. If my computer will play, there we go. The types of things that you can expect to do on a lakes and mountains holiday. We changed our brochure name actually to just be summer, and the reason we did that was because we found that lakes and mountains can actually be two very different types of people. So we encompass so many different things within our program that we changed the brochure this year to, as I say, just be summer. And pretty soon, when all the Miles Morgan shops open again, you'll be able to get your copy from them if you want to get a physical brochure and have a flip through with a cup of coffee. So really, let's just take you through what Inghams is all about initially. We've been going for 85 years. So as Miles said, it's a long time. And like him, I've been in this industry a very long time, and basically watched Inghams evolve into what it is today. Walter Ingham set up the company, and he set it up initially as ski, and then went into the summer holidays around the sort of the Austria and Switzerland areas of destinations. What we try and do with our holidays is create your holiday for you around whatever your passions and your interests are. And that's where Inghams is now. Over the furlough time, as Miles alluded to there, I don't know about you, but I've done lots and lots of walking. I've been on steps challenges, kilometres challenges throughout different months. I've learned to bake more than I've ever baked. In fact, this weekend I perfected my mum's scones. She gave me the thumbs up and said I'd absolutely mastered them. So done a lot of baking. I've drank a few gins, I've drank a few wines. I've been out, I've seen lots of different wildlife that I hadn't ever seen before. I've explored, I live in Northampton, and I've explored areas that I didn't even know existed. I found this fantastic old grotto dating back to the 1700s, and there was a big old ruin of a church I'd seen but never been in, and dating back to 1200s. And I'm sure that you've done a lot of the same experience and seen places locally that you wouldn't have necessarily seen had we not been in lockdown. So what I want to try and sort of explain today that is European holidays are not necessarily about being on a beach, and I think sometimes we lose sight of that. The destinations that we feature, which I'll come on to next, which is sort of your Canada, Norway, we do Austria, Switzerland, France, etc. There are so many things involved in these destinations that perhaps you don't necessarily think about. So we've brought our new brochure together and our new programme together and really concentrated on those things that may be of interest to you. So like food and drink, for example, there's some great destinations that have some amazing restaurants that you can go in terrific views. I mean, this little picture that I have down here on the bottom corner, to sit there, I can picture myself there now. In fact, I would jump on a plane tomorrow if I could, and just enjoy that chill, watching the world go by, just overlooking some fabulous views, the sceneries. Italy in particular has a lot of vineyards that you can go to, and I've been very lucky in the past where I went to Murano in Italy, and we actually went to this vineyard, and they give you the wine tasting, give some food to go with it, and it was just beautiful. So it's a really nice way to experience different foods and drinks. Sightseeing, you know, there is some amazing sightseeing in these wonderful, wonderful countries. You can look over those views with the mountains or across a lake. You know, it might be in the Dolomites, in the UNESCO heritage sites, or it might be looking over Niagara Falls in Canada. Lots and lots of different places to go. You've got the cultural side of things where we do a lot of city breaks. So we do the Italian cities, we go, maybe you want to go to Vienna, see the State Opera House, various galleries in Florence, but there's lots of cultural stuff around these countries as well. The history, you know, places like Pompeii, you can't get much more historic than those. You might even go to Eagle's Nest in Berchtesgaden in Germany. So again, lots and lots of history across Europe and Canada, as I mentioned, Canada, obviously. Wellness has been a massive thing. I think more and more has been said in the last 12 months about mental health, well-being. And, you know, I don't know what circumstances you've all got around you, but there's a lot of people that have been isolated more because they've had to go into isolation because of various issues, can't see friends and neighbours so much. So it's been a lot about ourselves, and we've perhaps lost sight in the past about what it is about ourselves and actually just taking time out. And if you think about the hills and the mountains around Switzerland, Austria, France, Italy, just take yourself into that zone where you can go walking, something that we've all been doing, and all around you, you've just got these magnificent views, but you've got cows around you with their cowbells on. You've got this fantastic sort of mountain restaurant where you can get a good meal and a nice coffee or whatever it is that you want there. And that you've also got a lot of spa towns, and a lot of hotels have amazing spas within them as well. So again, it's just time out. There's nothing better than actually just giving yourself headspace and being in nature itself. You know, the nature side of it, you can just be in it, or you can go and experience different things. You could do the whale watching in Iceland, or you could go and see the bears in Banff in Canada. You know, there's lots of different wildlife aspects to it, as well as the scenery and the land you're within. Water sports or water-based holidays. I was lucky enough, I did escape in September, and I did get to Italy. I watched it, made sure it didn't go in the red zone, and made sure I flew back on the Friday just in case they put it on the red list and I needed to get back. So I did just escape and get into Italy. And we went to Lake Garda. And what sort of blew me away was, I mean, we stayed for 3 nights on the south of the lake and 3 nights on the north of the lake. And it was just stunning. And every day we got a ferry, we went somewhere else, we just explored. There were so many castles we could go and see. There was the food and drink that I've already mentioned. There's a theme, and then there was, but what we did when we went to the north, we walked around to Torboli because we did a lot of walking. And it was almost like I was on a beach holiday, because around walking that area, there was so many people windsurfing, there was people out on kayaks, there was people out doing kite surfing, paddleboarding, you know, cycling is another big thing. But on the water, there was a lot of people doing it. So people don't really think of that. You just think of a lake, walking around it, but actually it can be quite exhilarating as well. So depending on what it is that you're into, there is something for you on that side of things. The walking, it goes without saying, we have fantastic destinations for walking, and we will take you on guided walks in some of our resorts where we have a guide. It doesn't cost anything, it's a free one. In the brochure, we will always say that whether it's good for easy, intermediate or difficult walks, and there's always different levels that you can do. There's also cards that we get. I'm going to explain that a little bit more as well, but they will give you access to maps and things like that that will take you, so you can go on your own. You don't have to go with a guide if you don't want to. And then photography, you know, we've all got, well, most of us have got decent phones now. You know, we don't need to have the massive cameras with the massive lenses, but some people, that is the thing. You might be really into photography and have these cameras with the lenses. And again, I can't think of anywhere better than you would get some amazing photographs. And then cycling around there. We hired some bikes around Lake Garda, and it was just brilliant. I didn't go all the way around Mount Garda because that's quite big, but we just did little sections of it. But you can hire e-bikes. So even if you think that you don't necessarily want to go into cycling is a fabulous way of seeing places. And I figure if you're going around somewhere on a lake, you're fairly flat, so that's fine. But you can do it on an e-bike as well. So whether you're into the mountain biking or just gentle cycle rides, again, there's something for you. And different hotels will offer free bike hire as well, or some of them even offer free car hire. So what I'm trying to say is there is so much to these countries than perhaps you would imagine. When we look at actually where we go to, we offer 9 different countries, and we've got beautiful places, beautiful itineraries. We do a mix of tours as well as city breaks, as well as sort of land-based breaks where you go. And just to give you an overview of these individual places, obviously I'm not going to go into every single 140 resorts because I think you'll all be asleep by the next 5 minutes, but just a bit of a, because I don't know where you're interested in. So I'm just going to give an overview of each destination. Iceland, I mean, I've got their abundance of national parks, but it's so much more than that. There's lots of UNESCO heritage sites around it. It's the largest glacier in Europe. You've got the Blue Lagoon. Most people will have heard of the Blue Lagoon. It's on a lot of people's bucket list. Got the geothermal seawaters with natural minerals. It's good for your skin. Lots of animals you can go whale watching out in there. We do some self-guided tours where you can self-drive and you can go around to all the geysers and the waterfalls, and you can go see the volcanoes. We also have some escorted touring, and you can do a city break. You could just go away and just do a 2 or 3 night city break. So there's lots of different things in Iceland you can do. It is a really popular destination to go to at the moment. And again, from that mindfulness, well-being, fresh air, it's just fabulous. Canada we introduced in 2020. That went well, as you can imagine. So we launched it. Clearly we didn't take anybody. I'm not too sure when we're going to be able to take anybody there next. However, Canada is in our program, and we have 3 different areas that you can go to. You can do a tour which takes you around the East Coast, a tour which will take you around the West Coast, or we do one that sort of combines the 2. So we can do tours. We can do just sort of stay around it and do it. We're not a Canada specialist, but we can absolutely offer you these trips that you can go on in Canada. Norway, it's the gateway to the fjords. A lot of people go there on a cruise ship. Now, I think where we have the advantage of that, we're not taking you in on a cruise ship, but when we take you on a tour, because we do tours, we do self-guided, we do city breaks, again, in all these different places. But when we actually take you to see the fjords, we don't go the way that the cruise ships go, we go the other way. So actually you're less in an area that's less commercialized, and you're not going to be with loads and loads of crowds of people. Norway is all about the people. They're very friendly. They're very proud of their country. You know, you've got everything really evolution-wise. You go from the sort of the landscape that was formed in the Ice Age to the Viking domination, and now you've got renewable energy there. So literally, you've gone through all the changes through these years, and that in itself makes Norway a fascinating country. You can do picturesque villages like Ulvik, and you can go to sort of the bigger areas. You can go to Bergen, which, as I say, takes you to the north. So Norway's really interesting. Austria is huge. I love Austria. I love Austria for its picturesque and its people and the way of life there. I've always enjoyed Austria, and I've been in summer and winter. It's friendly. It's got stunning landscapes. It's very good food, very good wines. It's rich in culture. There's lots to do. Walking is really big in Austria, and a lot of our resorts, you'll quite often see the little icons that I showed you on the screen before. It'll say great for walking or great for photography or, good for cycling or whatever. So there's lots and lots of different resorts there. But again, you can do city breaks. You can do to Salzburg. You can go to Vienna and do multi-centres. You can do cycling tours. It's very vibrant. It's very traditional. And it's everything encompassed into once. And I'm sure that you'd, as Miles and I were talking about before, you can do a bit of yodeling when you get in those mountains as well. So you can just imagine Miles in his his thigh slapping yodel wear with his on the top of the mountain. I probably want to get that image out of your head actually. Yeah, maybe we'll move on from that. France again. Now mainly for France, we go to the Lake Annecy and Chamonix area. And again, they're two very varied parts of France. You've got the beautiful tranquility of Lake Annecy, but then you've also got the vibrance and the sort of the excitement of Chamonix. So you can combine them because they're close together, so you can easily get between the two. We have excursions you can add into Chamonix, for example, where you can call it peaks of perfection, but it means you can get a free guided hiking tour or walking tour. You can get a free guided cycling. You can go whitewater rafting and lots of different things. You can even go parapenting. So for those of you amongst you that are maybe a little bit more adventurous or have got families that you want to take, all of a sudden this serene looking holiday can become quite exciting, and it can become a really good family holiday, or just for people that want to do something a little bit different. And around you, you've got in Morzine, you've got the goats around you, and then in other areas you've got all the snow-capped mountains, which again give you fantastic photography ability there. You've got Germany. So with Germany, there is so much history in Germany. We've got a lot of the fairy tale castles. You've got small towns with lots of historic squares. You've got Eagle's Nest. You've got the Hitler's, Berchtesgaden. You can go around locally by foot or by, sort of local transport. There's lots of different Bavarian hospitality out there. So you've got sort of a various contrasts within Germany itself. I did a German river cruise actually a few years ago with my mum, and it was amazing how just going across all the different cities, every city had the same core, but it was very different and quite, And even when you go to some other areas of, say, Italy, because of where the borders are in different places, you can find some quite Germanic Austrian type towns, even in other places. So, it's just got a very influential history around it. Italy, I'm going to talk about a little bit more separately because we actually do a whole Italian program, and I've got a different slide on that, so I'll come into that one. Slovenia. Basically with Slovenia, it's about going local, and it's experiencing those traditional markets and going to the tourist farms and stuff where, you just get a whole different cultural feel around it. Obviously, Slovenia's had its changes with Yugoslavia, etc. over the years. So there's massive history, but there's also a new way of life out there. They're very much into their well-being. It's very much about being an outdoor culture with its cycling and its walking, and you've got swimming in the sea or the lake. So again, things you might not think about Slovenia. You've also got the Lake Bled, which is historical itself, and you've got all the palaces there, which are just fantastic. You've got lots of caves, forests, orchards. So again, Slovenia might be somewhere you've not really thought about, but it is a country of diversity, and it is just stunning, just absolutely beautiful. And then finally, last but very much not least, we've got Switzerland. You've got the Glacier Mountains, but then you've also got with those Glacier Mountains comes that fresh air. It comes that zero stress. The cuisine in Switzerland is fantastic. You've got all what we do in Switzerland, we take you by train. So we don't do coach transfers, we give you train transfers when you arrive in Switzerland. You can do train and you can do rail escorted tours or rail tours. You can go on the Bernini Express, you can go on the Glacier Express, you can go to places like Zermatt, which is the home of the Matterhorn. The Matterhorn has been incredible this year. They keep lighting it up in all sorts of things. They light it up, you know, with our flag. They just light it up on different occasions. It will probably be lighted up in the green, in the St. Patrick's Day one a bit later on tonight. I don't know. But that area of Zermatt is a car-free village. So again, it's a bigger town, but it's all very much people related. You've got Interlaken between the lakes of Thun and Brienz, which are just beautiful little resorts. You've got that resort in the middle of it. So you've got the whole expansive area around you that you can go and explore. And then you've got somewhere like Vegas, which is on Lake Lucerne, one of their other lakes, which is just a really romantic and steeped in history area. So all of the areas that we've got and that we feature and those countries will give you a holiday, whatever it is that you're looking for. And one of them might suit you better than another. What we do with a lot of our holidays, and I touched on this a little bit earlier, is we give you resort cards, free resort cards, and it will tell you in the brochure, and the Miles Morgan teams can sort of guide you and point you in the right direction as well. These resort cards are really valuable. They don't cost you anything, but what they will do is they'll give you access to things. So they'll give you access to transport, to attractions, they'll give you free guided walks. There's lots of different things it does. And my example of that would be that I went to Lake Levico in Italy at the same time as I did Murano, and we had a resort card, and it took us to this, or we did the local transport and went to this museum called Artisella. Now I'd never heard of it, tried googling it, and a little bit of information on it. Oh my goodness, it was amazing. It was basically an outdoor museum. And it was everything in this museum as such was built outside with natural material. So for example, there was a bridge over a stream that was actually built purely out of magazines. So everything's biodegradable. Everything eventually rots and disintegrates into the earth and something else comes up. And then another artist will come in and build something else. There was another one which was like a dome, and it was a lattice type dome. And in the middle was a big hole. Now, because we had a guide that took us around, she was included. She was amazing. She said, stand on this spot. And we stood on this spot, or one of us stood on the spot, and you shouted, and it echoed. But it only echoed in your own head. Nobody else could hear the echo. But if you didn't stand there, it didn't echo. It was weird. But we wouldn't have known that had we not got the guide. And to be quite honest, I might not have gone there had I not got this access or this resort card, because I didn't really know about it. So again, it just opens it up. You can take the cable cars into the mountains and go for gentle walks in these mountain restaurants. And again, free, you can get on the local buses. So it's perfect to just go out and explore when you're there. There are some hotels that we give free nights away. So it's like buy 5, get 2 free. So you can stay for 7 and things like that. But again, Miles Morgan teams will be able to sort of guide you through that information. I said about Italy. Italy isn't something that necessarily is thought of with Inghams. We've been doing it for a long time, and now for the lakes, we're absolutely thought of because we've been out there probably longer than anybody else with Lake Garda, Lake Como, and all the other sort of lake areas around it. And there are a lot of lakes in Italy. But outside of those, we also go to the Dolomites. We go up into Tuscany. We do the Adriatic, literally everywhere. We go across to Sicily, Sardinia. We've got city breaks, Rome, Florence, even the more little ones that you might not necessarily know about, with Siena, which is just stunning. We can do the Orient Express. Our Italian program is completely flexible. So it means whatever it is that you're thinking of doing, if Italy is where you'd like to go, you can work with the Miles Morgan team and they will be able to put it together for you. So whether that means if you don't want to fly full stop, you'd rather go over on the Eurostar, we can do that. We can take you over by train, we can tour you around by train, and we can just put it together. If it's possible to do, then we will do it for you. So, we can put it together. So if Italy is just stunning. It is just a very diverse country. You've got the Dolomites, which are right on the border of Austria, so it is quite different up there to what it is down in the lakes area. And even the individual lakes, I did Lake Garda last September that I said about, but I would love to go back and do Lake Como, probably because I want to see George Clooney. But anyway, you know, I want to, it's just another lake which is very different, and everyone is quite different. Lake Levico, small enough to walk around it, swimming in the lake is amazing. But again, you can get out and do lots of different things, and you'll find just quirky things around you, like a restaurant in the middle of a cliff face, and to get there you go up these big lifts and things like that. So, you know, again, there's something different if you're thinking of it. If you like the idea of agriturismo being the organic, the locally produced farms and wines and everything sort of sourced locally, around the Tuscany area in particular, there's a lot of that around. So we can sort of put you in, or you can stay in sort of local farmhouses or local hotels which grow their own produce, that produce their own wines, and everything is sort of locally sourced and locally produced. And we have a lot of interest in that at the moment, because it is all about the well-being in the body as well as, you know, on the outside with the fresh air. Touring, I mentioned touring. We do a lot of tours, and I think touring is one of those things that's more and more popular because you get to see so many more places, but you don't necessarily, wouldn't necessarily get to see or get to know about. And, you know, it is a great way to explore a place. And we have two different types of touring, well, three effectively. We have the small group tours. Now, they are no bigger than 26 people. That's with the exception of Iceland and Canada, and that's because they're not our tours. We buy into those tours, so they might have a few more than 26. They will take you around the place. Sometimes you stay in one place for a period of time and just go out for odd days here and there, or it might be a twin centre or multi-centre, or it might be every day or somewhere different. We have the small group escorted tours, but we also do self-guided tours, and I think these are great, especially in these times. People don't necessarily want to be within groups of people. I mean, we hope we're getting our vaccines, we're going to be able to travel again freely and everything else. Certainly by later part of this year we will be able to, but people are still going to be a little bit wary about being sometimes on a coach with people. So the self-guided tours, I think, are a brilliant option. It means that you can just travel with those people you're with, and some of them are walking, some of them are you just stay in a hotel and you go on different excursions each day, some of them can be cycling. There's a couple there that I really like, and I guess those on a personal level that I think these would be so interesting. You can cycle the Treasures of the Danube. So you can either do between Budapest and Vienna, or Vienna and Passau. And you can actually cycle on an e-bike or a normal bike, whichever you want to do. It just means, because you're guided, your luggage is all taken care of, so it's moved on from one day to the next. All you have to worry about is getting to that place by the end of the day. So if you want to stop en route and have a glass of Aperol Spritz or a beer or a coffee or a lunch or a photo stop, or whatever it is you want to do, you can, without the fear of another group, you know, cycling faster than you, for example. And I think that's a great idea. Because your luggage is taken, you just got to get there. You'll be given the maps, you'll be given the route, you'll be told how many mileage, you'll get lots and lots of information before you actually go. Trekking the Cinque Terre in Italy, UNESCO heritage site, is another one. It's done in your own pace, beautiful area. And again, you go from village to village and you just go through it. And then we've got other ones like the Iceland, which you can do self-drive. And then we've got escorted tours. Our best escorted tour is Puglia and Basilicata in Italy, which is right down the sort of the heel of the boot area of the country. So again, there are plenty of options for you to think about there. And I guess finally, just sort of moving away from the destination side of things, we've got our In Safe Hands campaign. Now, we work really closely with Miles Morgan. We're very good partners, and you know that Miles Morgan will look after you. We know that there's been a lot of holidays over the last 12 months that haven't happened, and when people have been moved into other areas, or other departure dates, or they've transferred seasons or cancelled. We have done the right thing by all of our customers right the way through. We will refund, we will transfer, we will give you the assurances that you need, that we won't take you anywhere that we can't take you, that's not safe. So whatever it is, providing you've booked with Miles Morgan and then they book with a company like ours, between us, you are going to be protected. So don't worry about booking a holiday, and then if something happens that you can't travel, you'll be looked after. And I just think that's important to acknowledge at this stage, because things are a little bit weird, for want of a better word. And I think that is it from me. So I'm hoping that I've inspired you a little bit, given you lots of different ideas. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and thank you for listening, and hand back to Miles.
Very good. Julie, I have to say that was a particularly challenging presentation, was that, because literally the amount of places you had to cover was exceptional. So well done. You've got a question in here. So, is the resort card available for all resorts or just in Switzerland?
No, it's lots of resorts across all the destinations, but it isn't every resort. So it's not just Switzerland. They're definitely available in Italy. There's some available in Austria. There's various different ones. And it's very clear within our programme, on each resort page, it will tell you whether there's a resort card included.
Okay. And this next one, I think I might know the difference between this one, because I think this one's probably designed for me. The difference between an e-bike and a normal bike, probably I was going to say an e-bike is the one I'd like to ride, and a normal bike is the one that's hard work. Is that the difference?
Yeah, basically. So an e-bike has like a little motor. I've never been on one, but I have seen one, and it whizzed off from me at the traffic lights the other week, and I thought, blimey, that's clearly not a normal bike. So I think it has a little motor. So basically, when you get to a little hill, you can kick it in, and then it will just sort of take that strain out of your legs. I'm actually contemplating getting one, because we're trying to do a bit of cycling. I'm not very good on normal bikes. More if it's flat. I figured the Danube cycle ride is perfect, because it's on a river. So in my mind, that means there's not really any particular incline. It's not massive anyway. So, but yes, an e-bike has a little type of motor attached, so that when you're going up a hill, it takes the hard work out of it. A lot of serious cyclists would say that's cheating, but in my opinion, I think it's sensible.
Well, funnily enough, I've got 80-year-old neighbours, and I looked out of my gate the other day, and we were on a bit of a hill, and I saw them go flying past on bicycles, and I thought, my crumbs, how are they that fit? And then they let me know the following day that they just bought brand new e-bikes, hence the reason why they were doing so well. Right, another question. Some of these resort cards are fantastic. I have one in Austria, which I could travel on all trains and buses up to 80 miles away, and cable cars too. So there you go. So that's a plug for how brilliant they are. I'm going to put you on the spot, Julie. You covered numerous destinations in your presentation, and resorts within the countries even. I'm going to nail you down for telling me your favourite of those and just why.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I guess it's got to be one obviously that I've been to. I think I really loved Lake Garda when I went to Lake Garda. That was my holiday in September, and it blew me away because of the variety of it and the different areas that you could do. But I think the place that took me by surprise was Murano, which is in Italy in the Dolomites area, and it was sort of more mountainous, but it was just so different. We were in Italy, but it was German speaking, if that makes sense, because of where the border used to be between Austria and Italy, and it's moved about. So there was a lot of people, whilst they are Italians, they speak German. And it was a spa town, which was full of history, which was just fantastic to explore around. We had a guide that took us. And then we also had this brilliant spa in the town centre with like 25 different types of pools that we had an afternoon in one day. Some things that whizzed you around, others that we walked on different things on your feet. Another day we took a cable car, went up into the mountains, and we did walk with those cows, with the cowbells. And so it was, I just never really heard of it before, never really come across it, never been there. It just was just amazing. So yeah, I absolutely loved Murano in Italy, and the hotel Park Mignon was to die for. It was lovely. In fact, I was going to go back and take my mum. She'd love it.
It's interesting, really. Quite often, it's the unknowns that are very often as nice or nicer than. I mean, watching your presentation, I've done a boat trip along the Cinque Terre, so in Italy, and stopped in one of the resorts. And when I saw the option for doing a walk along there, I thought, my God, that will be fantastic walking along there. Yeah. Quite hilly, so obviously quite, you've got to be reasonably fit, but fantastic trip and beautiful places to stop at.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with all of these destinations that we do. They are very varied, and they are, you know, you have in your mind what they might be about, and actually when you arrive or when you go or start researching into it, it becomes apparent that there is so much more to these countries than you think. You know, intended to be that you might think of a, you know, a lakes and mountains style holiday just for people that just wanted to walk. You know, and I think maybe years ago that was it, but there is so many more things you can do now. And like we said earlier, so many more things that we are doing, even in our own country and on our own doorsteps, actually to go into somewhere where the scenery is so much more dramatic and carry on doing what we're enjoying. It just really makes a world of difference, I think.
Well, there's definitely a trend away from fly and flop and more to people going on holiday to experience more, do more things, you know, things like walking, things like cycling, things like cooking. You know, it doesn't all have to be hard work either. Some of it can be very relaxed.
Yeah, it can. I think it is about that experience. Everybody wants more experiences these days, I think. You know, it's not just a case of just seeing another beach and another, you know, another bar. It is about that experience, that feeling things, that, you know, even just feeling that air, or feeling that, you know, sort of seeing those sights and almost soaking it in. When you go into these amazing churches and things, you know, you just sort of fall into it almost. So yeah, definitely experiences are what people are looking for.
This has been a dreadful presentation for everybody that's stuck in 4 walls of their lounge, and has been for the last 12 months, Julie.
I know.
When we're all thinking, God, I could be in Austria walking in the hills, I'm stuck in these 4 walls.
I know, it's awful. When I'm talking about it though, I can visualize it because I've been to some of the places. So in my mind, I can visualize that I have got that Aperol spritz on that in Sermione outside the castle, or, you know, I'm up in that spa in Murano, and it is, yeah, it does. You just have to keep travel alive in our minds until that plane starts flying again, which hopefully we'll see.
And I think, you know, we were chatting before the Zoom started, and there is no doubt that summer 2022 is already busy and will become even busier. So, you know, whilst this year is still unknown until we get a steer from the government on the 12th of April, so, you know, less than 4 weeks away now, for 22, if you are planning on doing anything, you know, I think, Julie, you'd say people should do something now rather than wait the way bookings are going for you.
Yeah, we've gone on sale now for 22. We went on sale last week. And I think we're already seeing a lot of bookings. There are some people that are transferring through. They don't necessarily want to go in May or June this year, or can't go in May or June this year, so booking into next year. But yeah, 22 is already selling. I think people are going to be more confident of booking further in advance. So absolutely. The thing is, with any holiday companies, there's going to be less to sell for the next sort of 12 months while we rebuild everything again and while tourism begins to open again. So, you know, in terms of, without putting a fear factor into it, but in terms of, if you know what you want and you want to go, just book it, because then you know for sure you'll get exactly what you want rather than what's left. So yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Julie, very much for your time this morning. It was wonderful, and you certainly a record for me in terms of managing to whiz around the world so quickly, covering Slovenia, Canada, Norway. My God, you covered everywhere. So thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And if you need any information on any of the destinations Julie talked about, have a supplementary question you should have asked Julie and didn't, then just get in contact with your local shop and we can get in contact with Julie and ask that question. But in the meantime, Julie, thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a great day today.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.